acting very nicely. I think Colombia wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted very well. And I like this man.
Were you aware of Elon Musk's regular drug use?
No, I wasn't. I think he's fantastic. I think Elon is a fantastic guy. And
are you troubled by these reports?
I'm not troubled by anything with Elon. I think he's fantastic. Did a great job. And, you know, Doge continues. And by the time it's finished, we'll have numbers that'll knock your socks off. It's going to be, he did a fantastic job. And he didn't need it. He didn't need to do it.
The New York Times reporting this morning that Musk was engaged in increasingly intense drug use during the Trump campaign last year. That's according to people familiar with his activities. Musk has publicly acknowledged using the powerful anesthetic known as ketamine to address his mental health. But the Times reports that while on the campaign trail, quote, Mr. Musk had been using ketamine often, sometimes daily, and mixing it with other drugs, according to people familiar with his consumption. The line between medical use and recreation was blurring, troubling some people close to him. He also took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms at private gatherings across the United States and in at least one other country, according to those who attended the events. And he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it.
All right. Was there any drug testing or any request for him to drug test when he was in the White House, given the fact that he was also a contractor with the government?
Fortunately for you and all the friends at CNN, you'll have the opportunity to ask Elon all the questions you want today yourself. In the meantime, the drugs I'm concerned about are the drugs that are coming across the border from the criminal cartels that are killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. And we're going to save hundreds of thousands of lives if these district courts would just get the hell out of the way, stop destroying our Constitution, stop taking authority they don't have, and allow the president to do the job that not only he was elected to do, but the constitutional laws of the United States vest him exclusively to do.
Stephen Miller,
those are the
thank you
drugs
so much.
I'm worried about.
All right. Thank you.
We asked the White House about whether or not they had drug tested Musk, and they refused to answer those questions. SpaceX, one of his companies, after he smoked weed in 2018 on Joe Rogan's podcast, you know, that triggered, SpaceX has billions of dollars in contracts, and they are required because of that to maintain a drug-free workplace and test their employees. And our reporting showed that Musk receives advance warnings of those tests. So what's certain is that there doesn't seem to be any, there hasn't been any sort of scrutiny or true monitoring or testing of this drug use, even as it sort of bubbled up behind the scenes.
And I look forward to, Times being back in this amazing room. By the way, isn't this incredible? Look at this incredible, it's stunning, I think. The way that the Oval Office, how the president has just completely redone the Oval Office. It's beautiful. I love the gold on the ceiling.
Thank you. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's been there a long time. That was plaster. Nobody ever really saw it. They didn't know the eagle was up there, and we highlighted. It's essentially it's a landmark, a great landmark, and that's 24 karat gold, and everybody loved it, and now they all see it when they come in. So it's been good.
The Oval Office finally has the majesty that it deserves, thanks to the president.
Well, I wanted to ask quickly, Mr. Musk, is your eye okay? What happened to your eye? I noticed there's a bruise there.
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near France, so.
What does that mean?
No,
I didn't notice his eye.
First Lady of France.
Getting slapped.
I didn't notice.
I was just horsing around with Lex, and I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did. Turns out, even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually does.
That was X that did.
Yeah,
X could do it. If you knew X,
I saw his mom right now. But I didn't really feel much at the time, and then I guess it bruises up. But I was just horsing around with the kids.
I didn't
basically.
notice it actually.
President Trump, I got one. I know that you
drug use. Did you ever witness Elon Musk under the influence of drugs?
Not even close, no.
Never?
No.
Not once?
Not even once, no, not in a million years. And I could just say that he is a person who's so filled with joy that it's just a natural way that he is. And he's just been absolutely a blast to work with. And of course, there's no sign whatsoever, anything like that.
Did any of the personal drama?
When Elon Musk says he's stepping back, we can't believe him. What he wants to do is step back behind the curtain. Because for the longest time, billionaires have run our government hiding behind the curtain. Elon Musk's big innovation was that he bought the presidency and then came out in front of the curtain and bragged about running the government on social media. The American people are rightly outraged. So when he says he's stepping back, I see him trying to go and hide, but he is still meeting with senators. He's still meeting with foreign heads of state. He's still influencing Trump. And I think Democrats need to continue campaigning on getting folks like Elon Musk and all billionaires out of their control of the government, because they're clearly enriching themselves and screwing everybody else over.
Like, I agree with much of what the administration does, but we have differences of opinion. There's things that I don't entirely agree with. But it's difficult for me to bring that up in an interview, because then it creates a bone of contention. So then I'm a little stuck in a bind where I'm like, well, I don't want to, speak out against the administration, but I don't want to. I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing.
Okay, Trump and Elon, the divorce no one wanted, but everyone kind of predicted it was going to happen at some stage. And that stage is right now. Yes, we've officially reached the end of the Trump-Elon bromance, and, well, honestly...
Nope. It's over. Didn't hear it.
It's kind of about time, because this relationship wasn't exactly Romeo and Juliet. It was more Jabba the Hutt meets Lex Luthor. Except Lex has bad Wi-Fi and Jabba can't stop screaming about voter fraud on Truth Social. Which is kind of like X for like... let's be real. This whole partnership was just a headline distraction. The political equivalent of dangling keys in front of a baby, while the MAGA crowd was busy frothing at the mouth over Elon's free speech, freedom. You know, the crusade on X, or whatever we're calling Twitter nowadays. Freedom! Now they're fighting. Elon's gone on some AI-fueled Twitter meltdown, whining that Trump's big, beautiful bill is fiscally reckless. He's just figuring that out now. Genius, Elon! And this from the man who made Dogecoin pump and dump schemes a lifestyle brand. Huh. But anyway, let's talk about dodgy Doge. No, not the meme coin. The Department of Government Efficiency. Elon's brainchild, promising to slash $2 trillion in government waste. So what did they actually achieve? It's a question. Let's break it down. Massive layoffs. Over 260,000 federal employers were shown the door. Because nothing says efficiency like, think about it, gutting the workforce that keeps the government running. Agency dismantling. Doge took a chainsaw to agencies like USAID and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Come on, who needs consumer protection or international aid, right? Well, not the MAGAs. Contract cancellations. Yes, they boasted about terminating over 8,500 contracts and 10,000 grants. But many of these cuts led to service disruptions and legal challenges. Oh yeah, data access overreach. Doge gained access to sensitive federal databases, all your private information basically, raising serious privacy concerns, because giving Elon Musk access to your personal data sounds like a great idea. A bit like a Signal chat group with Hexa. Dubious saving claims. They claimed 175 billion in savings, but independent analysis suggests these figures are inflated. What a surprise. And the actual savings are questionable at best.
Penalties for violation are civil and criminal. Elon Musk and his tech bros are not above the law.
To me, this was never about policy, because MAGA doesn't do policy. MAGA is performance art. It's a rage machine designed to keep you angry, tweeting, Xing, and, I don't know, buying gold coins off Newsmax commercials. They don't care if anything gets done. They just want to see Stephen Colbert cry and only the lips. And Elon, please. Elon's attention span is shorter than a TikTok clip. Today it's saving free speech. Tomorrow it's, I don't know, tunneling under Las Vegas. Next week it's launching a brain chip so you can scroll Twitter or X with your eyelids. He didn't sign up to actually govern. I think he signed up to LARP as Iron Man and collect fanboys and have his ego all over the place. And meanwhile, Trump treats loyalty like he treats marriage vows. Disposable the minute you stop feeding his ego. Elon criticizing the bill was his millennium moment. What do you mean you have opinions? Next thing you know, Trump's posting on Truth Social. I always thought Bezos was the real genius. Sad. It's not going to end well. I know they're having a get-together or all that stuff. Let's hit the painful truth. Neither of these men has ever been about helping people. They're about spectacle. They're about getting you to look over here. Well, the actual policies, the ones that hurt, well, and affect everybody, hard-working people, actually gut regulations and hand billions to, well, people like Bezos. And it slides through unnoticed. This isn't necessarily about leadership. It's a three-wing circus where the lions are underpaid, and you've guessed it, the clowns run the show, and the ringmaster is asking if anyone has a pardon handy. So yeah, the bromance is over. And honestly, good riddance. But don't be fooled. This breakup isn't about values or principles. It's just two egos who ran out of the room on the same stage. And if you think this is the last time they'll team up for headlines, please. Alright? These two need each other like, I don't know, crypto bros need new scams. Desperately, loudly, and always at your expense. Yeah, be warned.
Mr. Senator, how do you see the future of Doge without Musk?
Well, first, let's thank Elon Musk for his amazing service to the American people. He has done what no one else has done before, found hundreds of billions of dollars of cuts and waste, fraud, and abuse. No more 300-year-olds getting Social Security checks because of Elon Musk. Thank God that President Trump had the wisdom to put Elon in place. We will make sure that those cuts are permanent in our spending packages going forward. We need less spending from the American government and more Americans having their own money to make their decisions.
Now,
you mentioned America's 250th birthday. We are going to kick it off here in Washington, D.C. on June 14th to mark the U.S. Army's 250th birthday. And this means a lot to me personally, Brian, because my father served in the U.S. Army and I was born on an Army base. So I'm a U.S. Army brat. So I am right there at the forefront in this celebration. And what I will tell you is we're going to have a massive parade here in Washington, D.C. on Constitution Avenue on June 14th. You can register to get tickets. It's free. It's open to the public. Registration is really easy. You just go to America250.org, America250.org, and get your tickets. We are going to celebrate the U.S. Army. We are going to honor our U.S. Army veterans, past and present, including wounded warriors and Gold Star families. You are going to see historical reenactments. You are going to see military equipment from the Revolutionary War through today's cutting-edge technology. So it's going to be a massive celebration, and we want everybody to come out and honor the United States Army with all of us, including President Trump and Vice President Vance.
And you have an announcement on how the parade on June 14th will end.
Yes, I am proud to announce here on Fox and Friends that the President of the United States is going to honor the U.S. Army, that he is so committed to rebuilding the Army and the military. We've seen record recruitment for the Army. We've seen restoration of military readiness. And so what the President is going to do at the end of the parade is preside over a live re-enlistment of 250 U.S. Army soldiers. It is going to be an incredibly powerful and symbolic moment for them, for the President, and for the U.S. Army and the military writ large. So again, I hope everybody will join us here in Washington on June 14th. Go to America250.org and get your tickets. Again, it's free, and we welcome everybody to join in this massive national celebration.
Man, this is
you
a
mentioned
fun
once in
job,
2012
but
that
it's not.
Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, it's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So I can't, it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Mr. President. We saw whenever a judge rules against this administration, you say they're going rogue. Do you think a judge should just rubber stamp what your White House does? If not, what checks and balances do you think should be in place for this White House? It is not the job of a district court judge to perform an individual green light or red light on every single policy that the president takes as the head of the executive branch. Just think about the premise baked into your question, respectfully, Pam. You're saying that when the American people elect a president of the United States of America, I'm not saying
well, it's the implication, who is the sole head of the executive branch. Well, let me finish. I will answer the question happily. But look, when you have these kinds of lazy assumptions built into questions, it makes it hard to have a constructive dialogue.
What is a lazy assumption? I said you all had to win.
You said is it my expectation?
I'm speaking because now you're putting...
You said, is it my expectation? It's not just you. It's the whole media. In other words, when you hear a sentence like...
It is a completely fair question. You say judges who rule against the White House
and I will gladly answer it. When you say, do we think district court judges should rubber stamp each action? There is a premise that is built into that is absurd. The president is the sole head of the executive branch. He's the only officer in the entire government that's elected by the entire American people. Democracy cannot function. In fact, democracy does not exist at all if each action the president takes, foreign policy, diplomatic, military, national security, has to be individually approved by 700 district court judges. That's democracy. So if there's 15 communist crazy judges on the court, that each of them as a team working together can block and freeze each and every executive action. Joe Biden was allowed by that same court system
Some of them
to
are
import
Trump
20
judges,
million
though.
illegal foreigners.
Why did Trump put these crazy communist judges, as you call them, on the bench?
You heard President Trump himself say that the Federalist Society and Leonard Leo has created a broken system for judicial vetting. And God knows this time around, we are not going to be using...
So does that mean he doesn't support picking Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court?
What it means is simply this and nothing more. We're not going to be using the Federal Society to make judicial nominations at all going forward. But let me tell you about these rogue judges. This is the most litigated issue over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, whether or not to deport the foreigners who invaded our country illegally. That is the most litigated issue. You want a democracy in this country? When Americans vote, when they cry out and they beg for a president to come and save them from this invasion, and some district court judge in San Francisco or Manhattan or Los Angeles tries to shut it down and shield these foreigners from deportation, while the courts did nothing to stop Joe Biden and his administration and his officers, the Mayorkas, from overseeing this invasion,
to be discussed. But there are several lower court judges that have raised the idea that this White House isn't following its court order. Is this administration committed to following the court rulings and the legal process?
We are committed to following and obeying the laws of the United States, and the president has complied with all court orders. Am I going to sit here today and say, for example, that if a district court judge ordered us to, say, take 1,000 troops from Iraq and move them to Afghanistan, that we would just do that? If a district court judge ordered us, for example, to reveal the secret location of a CIA base overseas to the entire world, and then all the CIA officers in that base would be murdered and killed? Am I going to sit here today and engage in radical hypotheticals? This administration has religiously complied with even the most unlawful court orders, but it completely upends the constitutional system. To have a single judge in Boston,
assert the same powers of the President of the United States is such an offense to democracy. And on this network, we heard the word democracy, democracy, democracy for God knows how many years during the Biden administration when they were trying to throw President Trump in jail, claiming somehow that was what democracy required, when in fact the Democrat Party has been waging war against democracy. They should be renamed the Communist Party, and district court judges that are trying to keep millions of illegal aliens here to steal our jobs, to steal our livelihood, to steal our benefits. There's nothing more on track than talking about the fact that the constitutional crisis of our time are district court judges keeping illegal aliens on our soil who have no right to be here.
Stephen, this is my show. I want to hear what you have to say. I've been respectful and given you the opportunity, but I also need to jump in because time is of the essence. And
of this. The bulk of this is going to cut to people who rely on this program to stay healthy and stay alive. And those cuts need to be prevented.
Completely false.
That is not completely false.
The first 98% of her answer was great because she was explaining exactly what the Republicans are doing. Illegals who are not eligible should come off. The work requirements. Look, I'm sorry, but if you're 30 years old and you're playing video games on grandma's couch and you don't want to get up and work, that's a problem for every taxpayer that has to get up and go to work every day. You need to go try to work. If you need
Your message to Chinese college students in the United States that want to stay in the United States, don't want their visa revoked.
Well, they're going to be okay. It's going to work out fine. We just want to check out the individual students. And that's true with all colleges. And I don't know why Harvard's not giving us the list. There's something going on because Harvard's not giving us a list. They ought to give us a list and get themselves out of trouble. But they don't want to give the list because they have names on there that supposedly are quite bad. We want people that can love our country and take care of our country and cherish our country. And for some reason, Harvard doesn't want to give us a list. I would suggest you all get out of the rain now. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good time. We'll see what happens.
Are you aware of the reports that Susie Wiles' phone has been breached and somebody's been impersonating her?
I've heard that, yeah.
About that? Do you know anything about the investigation?
She's an amazing woman. She can handle it. But I've heard that they breached her phones or they tried to impersonate her. Nobody can impersonate Susie. Nobody. And I let them know.
Your message to the G7 here in 2 weeks. You're going to Canada. Mark Carney up there obviously has a different view of the world than you do. When it comes to energy, clearly. What's your message going to be at G7 here in a couple weeks?
Well, it's in Canada. And he's a very nice guy, by the way, Mark Carney. I think he's really a very nice person. And we've had some good talks. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Are you aware of
the Pennsylvania going forward?
I like this man.
Were you aware of Elon Musk's regular drug use?
No, I wasn't. I think he's fantastic. I think Elon is a fantastic guy. And
are you troubled by these reports?
I'm not troubled by anything with Elon. I think he's fantastic. Did a great job. And you know, Doge continues. And by the time it's finished, we'll have numbers that'll knock your socks off. It's going to be, he did a fantastic job. And he didn't need it. He didn't need to do it.
Yeah, it absolutely goes back to 2020. He was very angry in 2020 because the justices that he appointed to the Supreme Court at the suggestion of Leonard Leo and his former and Trump's former White House counsel, Don McGahn, both members of the Federalist Society, were members of the Federalist Society who failed to step in to assist him in his coup attempt. The people at the Justice Department, everybody except for that one hack, Jeffrey Clark, who stood up to Trump and said, we're going to resign en masse if you try to make us do something to support your insurrection, your attempt to stay in office. They were basically members of the conservative legal establishment, if not members of the Federalist Society themselves. So he became very, very resentful in 2021 at Leonard Leo and at the Federalist Society. And the great irony of that today is that a lot of people, a lot of hacks, right-wing hacks, joined the Federalist Society in these past several years thinking this is the way to get a job, a plum job in the next Trump administration or to get a judgeship. And they made a mistake there. Trump Trump does not like the Federalist Society because it can, actually the Federalist Society is kind of a diverse group of conservatives. It always was kind of like the legal equivalent of the Reagan tripod with economic conservatives, defense conservatives, and religious conservatives. It was a mix of a bunch of things. Libertarians, people like me who believe strongly in the rule of law and are conservative in the way they interpret the Constitution, and people like Amy Coney Barrett, who the Trumpists really hate now because she's voting, to apply the due process clause to all people and not just citizens of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that from Donald Trump on down, they are attacking the judges. They want to impeach the judges. We have Republican colleagues who have wanted posters up outside of their offices in the Cannon House office building saying wanted with the judges up there. A number of them are Republican-appointed judges like Judge Boasberg, who might be the most reviled of the judges for the Freedom Caucus. He's a Republican appointee. Bush appointed him to the court when he first got on it. He's a pillar of the conservative legal establishment, but he's a stickler for the rule of law. And anybody who stands up for the rule of law gets in their way because this is a gangster state. And, I just hope people begin to understand this is not basically a legitimate government that is sometimes doing corrupt things. This is an essentially corrupt enterprise. It's like watching The Sopranos. Every day they get up and they try to figure out how to plunder and pillage the people and the government fisc. That's what it's all about.
A woman who's an incredible writer, actually. She understands what they call the Rust Belt.